Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I might be coming in too bold, okay? It might be too sensitive a topic for a Monday morning, but I just feel like I need to throw it out there. You know, we've got some antics going on Raid Shadow Legends, as always. Basically, the community are too smart for the game. That's where we're at nowadays. Yeah, if I go back a few years when I first started playing the game, we were finding out about the game. We were exploring stuff. The game was tough. Nowadays, the community make Raid a bit of a laughing stock. And you do have to ask the question, like, has it gone too far? Have Raid basically lost control of their game? Okay, and specifically I want to talk about Hydra, but I want to talk about champions in general. The reason why I want to talk about it is I've seen a couple more videos over the weekend about Hydra, which are just like obscene, okay? And I guess I'm not sure where we're at. I don't know if it's like, you know what, this is just fun. This is a game. We're meant to enjoy the game. If we find fun, broken stuff, then it's like, who cares? It's just cool. It's just fun. But on the other side, it's like, well, but it's also meant to be a competitive game. You're meant to be able to compete with other people. And the fun gets ebbed away if you're not able to recreate this kind of like competitive edge that somebody's got over you. So let's start with Hydra, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Arena, because it feels like it's getting out of control. So Hydra Clash is a competitive part of the game. When it first came out, I was like, yes, this is what Raid needs. More areas where we're like head to head with each other. And as I say, like the community have just outsmarted the devs at this point to absurdity. Yeah, if we look at the team that's currently leading in my Hydra Clash, you've got obviously some big hitters in here doing some big work. And our team currently, after 58 keys, we've got 53 billion damage, which is a silly number in itself, right? But then the opposition, the Rising Titans here, their big boy, Hoshi, has come in and slammed one key on brutal difficulty for 48.8 billion. Okay, so everyone's probably like, yeah, it happens, you know, that's now part of the end game. It's like, okay, fine. You know, I was one of the people that was disappointed in the way cadaver teams were just like beating the game. If you didn't build a cadaver team, then your Hydra Clash team would lose, right? I was in this kind of like, this is silly for this to happen. The trouble is, fixing cadaver never fixed the problem. In fact, it didn't get close to fixing the problem. Okay, because we've now got other teams which are doing way more problems than what cadaver ever did. And it's honestly, you know, it would be like, well, we need to fix Yumiko next then. Yumiko or anybody that resets themselves or somebody else who's a reset champion needs to be fixed next. Okay, that would be like the angle. So these like double Yumikos just can't continuously reset abilities. And then champions like Trunda, specifically Trunda, can't just absolutely smack, you know, the Hydra heads into obliteration. But actually, it's way further than that. It goes a lot further than that now. And as I say, the community's just kind of like outsmarted this game mode. Or maybe the power creep in champions and the power creep in stats, gearing, empowerment, you know, everything, blessings, all of these things have just added tiers and tiers of stats onto champions that are able to get them, which now get to the point where content just becomes kind of irrelevant in this game. You know, I saw a video from, I'll show you a bit of this. Video from Bronco. I'll link this one down below, by the way. Super, like, this is where I'm struggling, right? Super cool video. Okay, Bronco, well done. Great work. Go and sub to Bronco if you haven't already. He does some really good work on the test server. So he's done this kind of like play with Wixwell using Yannicka. Okay, really clever strat. He's against, I checked it, he's against level 310, which means he's against Nightmare Hydra. Okay, and he's doing this kind of like unkillable team, shield growth team. Let me just get to the point where he actually unleashes himself. I think it's around here, yeah. So, oh, just watch an ad. I'm going to watch the ad for Bronco. He deserves it. Okay. So what's happened here is over time, we're talking 14 minutes, actually not that long in Hydra terms, right? Wixwell has been growing shields. And what's quite interesting, so Brogni grows shields by damage, and you physically see the chunk. It's add in a chunk, add in a chunk. Whereas Wixwell, it's been found out, actually has got a multiplicative growth. So what that means is the first time we grow a shield of Wixwell is pretty insignificant. But over time, the more shield growth you get, the stronger it becomes. So this is definitely like a watch out. Obviously, this is all starting to be understood now in terms of the way it's been coded and stuff. So the initial view of the Wixwell shield growth was fairly inaccurate, providing you can keep it going. So in the end, you can see he's got 14 minutes in of this shield growth, and then he's let the Hydra whip it away. And now the Head of Mischief is about to just push the shield across all of the enemies. Here we go. So now every Hydra head's got mammoth shields, right? And then what's going to happen is when Yannicka gets her turn, she is going to do damage based on the size of the shield. What is her actual ability here? Because it's being used already, but with a champion that which has been observed as being broken. Remove shields from targets if this champion's under veil, then deals extra damage equal to 15% of the value of the shield removed. 15% of the value of the shield removed, okay? So, obviously, if you've got massive shields, this does a lot of damage. So there's a champion called Togron that's being abused right now who's going to be fixed. He's not working correctly, but this is working correctly right now. Check this out. Bronco, we don't know. So he's just done nearly 1 billion damage in one hit. And by the looks of it, I don't know if it failed or something. It looks like it didn't even grab this shield. Did he weak hit? Could he weak hit over here? Is that possible? No. Don't know why I didn't do that. Anyway, I think it's worth a lot more damage than what he actually did. And this is him just literally testing stuff initially. So suddenly we've got a new combo in the mix, which is, again, of this level of completely broken. This is against Nightmare Hydra. Okay, so suddenly there's another broken comp. And actually, this is kind of quick. 14 minutes. I want to show you another one here. This is Sam Solstice. Quite often puts out insanely broken teams, right? So people with insane gear, like they're playing on a different realm to us. But check out this 20-second clip here from Sam. So against Nightmare again. Who have we got here? It's you. We're getting the drop defense and weaken on. Okay, so 15 million in the first couple of seconds. 73 million against Nightmare Hydra in like 6 seconds or something. Anyway, and we got some poncho action at the end. So there's a lot of this going on right now. And then I thought, well, you know, what's been recorded in the Optimiser? So if I wanted to go in and just check for rotation 2, which is what we're on right now, if I go in and check normal for me, bearing in mind, I don't own Yumiko's. I don't own a Zhu or Zien or whatever name is. The other one that kind of like is used a lot. I think she's a Shadowkin, is she? Shuzen, who basically gives your damage dealer like their turn straight away. Yeah, so it's like, I'm going to give you a ton of buffs and then just go and do some damage. So she's in the mix. But basically it's being able to reset, you know, champions like Trunda or maybe Yannicka now. So when I look on normal for this rotation, like what could I build? Well, it's not just Yumiko doing the reset stuff now. We've got champions like Nia, double Nia in the mix with Trunda and Emic keeping everybody alive. You know, anybody in this Venus role that does drop defense and weaken. Yeah, so suddenly we've got other champions that can be used. This is a 1 hour, 40-minute run from someone doing, I think that's 3 billion. Yeah, on normal. And there's plenty of options actually for me. This is stuff that I can do with my account, with the champions that I own. Yeah, 2 billions, 2 billions. I mean, this one is, I would say, like crazy achievable for I mean, no, that's over the top. But I mean, it's not so silly, is it? There's only Emic in here as a Void Legendary, who was a fusion. I don't know if Derped Up was a fusion now. I can't even remember. I think he was. Trunda in there. Venus, who I think could be Lydia. I don't know why it wouldn't be possible to be Lydia. Maybe it's not, but I think it should be able to. Countess Lix, I guess, just for AoE drop speed. Don't know. But anyway, 2 billion with this team, which is nuts. Nearly 2 billion with this team, which doesn't even feel like it's a broken team. Yeah, it's just a lot of damage from Ninja, a lot of damage from Whisper by the looks of it to me. So there's a lot of over 1 billion damage teams on normal, which is obviously going to kick you out a ton of points. If we look at hard, which is where you start ramping up your points, nearly 2 billion damage in 47 minutes with this team. Again, like, I mean, the high speeds and stuff, don't get me wrong, it's a hard build, but this is not in the realms of, you know, silly champions, I would say. And this is where I'm struggling, because this is what I mean. Like, we've outpaced the game mode, surely, at this point. You know, this isn't now just broken champions or broken builds and stuff. You know, Trunder's literally broken, right? So where do Raid go from this? Are we just happy that this is just now the norm? Look at this team. There's nothing special in my eyes about this team whatsoever, but it's doing 1.4 billion damage just because of the ability to scale up stats and just make yourself basically constantly blowing up heads much faster than the enemy. So they're barely getting a turn, if they get a turn at all. This is not all Trunder teams here. It is normalish teams doing well over 1 billion damage. Let's throw it right up to Nightmare. Again, this is for my account. So, I mean, Bellinor's taking a little go. Look at this. None of these champions are in the broken category on night at all, right? 2 billion damage. I'm not saying they're not good champions, by the way. They're all freaking good champions, right? But none of them are in that kind of like, actually, they should be fixed category, like Trunder maybe, or, you know, or Yumiko perhaps should be changed up. And, you know, is Yannicka working right? Chodron obviously is not working right. Like, these are just ones from the Optimiser. Okay, these are not me looking at all of the best teams in the game. This is literally just people that had the Optimiser open whilst they were playing, doing their Hydra run. And there's a lot of teams now which are doing serious damage to Hydra on a weekly basis without the broken mechanics, let alone with the broken mechanics. So I just don't really understand where Raid thinks they're going to go. Like, how do they fix this problem? They feel like they fixed a problem with the cadaver teams, but like the Hydra head, for everything they're taking out, 2 more things are popping up. And I guess if we look at PvP, so I'm not a big PvP player, honestly. I've dabbled, but I'm not playing it right now. You know, you've got obviously a champion like Armand's, who was a fusion, who, I mean, I said at the time, is totally busted when I did my videos on him. And I stand by it. I think he's totally busted, right? He's actually making the game less fun. And that's a problem, I think. Like, for anyone who's playing PvP that comes up against Armand's, and it's everywhere. If I look at, let me just have it, probably too late, because probably everyone's already running their crap teams at this point. But Armand's, anyone who's running a proper team here. Armand's, +1, Armand's. So anyone who's got a proper team out right now in my tag team arena, Armand's is in one of the teams, right? Because he's so broken. And, you know, we called it out super early. Now that we got to the point where everyone's got him and using him, we're now too late to do any sort of nerfs or changes. So where do you go from that? Where do you go from that? And then I looked down at the summoning portal today, and it's like, well, if we can't get rid of it, we might as well double down and throw him in the prism shards and at least get our money's worth. You know, and maybe some people will get the Dune Lord as well. At which point, I mean, allies deal more damage to enemies under stun. It's basically saying, like, if you're running Armands, we're doubling down. Allies ignore 50% of the target's resistance when applying stun. If you're running Armands, we're doubling down. I don't know. I'm struggling. Like, this morning I thought, what should I do a video about? And I fear for the state of the game. You know, I haven't even touched on mythicals. And actually mythicals is kind of where things are going in terms of, you know, like PvP metas and stuff like that. Eventually, obviously it's way slower because it's much harder to get them and they cost so much. But you've almost got, you know, the old legendary is basically the old epic, with some exceptions, like Armand's. You know, the old void legendary is like the old legendary, and now mythical is becoming the new void legendary, which I guess is what they want. They always want to kind of like, you know, double up. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I just fear for the game. I really fear for the game at this moment in time. Like, there's only so much that you can allow stat boost and you know, we're talking about blessing stat boost, empowerment stat boost, faction guardian stat boost, masteries, arena boost, affinity boost. You know, if you've got area bonuses going as well, then where have I actually got some? Not many. So I don't do live arena really, but you know, all of these things multiplying on each other on top of, you know, basically a number of broken champions. It just, I don't know, it gets to the point where the end game's very unfun, I think, at the moment. I think that new player accounts are actually a lot of fun, at least for like the first few months. But end game, it's just, I don't know if I find this fun. Like, do you guys? I'm interested. Do you guys find this type of change fun for you? You know, really trying to experiment in busting out the craziest stuff you can do, or is it just getting a bit too much? Is it kind of getting to the point where it's like, well, if I don't conform to these teams, then I'm so far behind it's not worth doing it. If I do conform to these teams, is there a chance that these champions are just going to be nerfed or changed or fixed or whatever, and all of that work, resources, money has just kind of gone down the drain? Anyway, let me know what you think. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.